What if the reason people don't respect you has nothing to do with your talent, your intelligence, or your work ethic? What if it's the small behaviors you repeat every single day, the ones you barely notice, that quietly signal to the world you're not to be taken seriously? Here's the uncomfortable reality. Respect isn't handed to the loudest person in the room. It's not given to the most emotional, the most aggressive, or even the most skilled. Respect is given to the person who can control themselves when everyone else is losing control. And today, I'm going to walk you through 5 cold behaviors, simple yet powerful shifts that instantly change how people perceive you. These are not tricks. They are not manipulation tactics. They are internal standards. And once you adopt them, you won't have to demand respect ever again. Let me begin with the first one. The first cold behavior that instantly commands respect is this: stop over-explaining yourself. Most people talk excessively when they feel uncertain. They justify their decisions. They defend their boundaries. They explain why they were late, why they chose something different, why they declined an invitation. And every additional sentence becomes an unconscious request for approval. But powerful individuals don't over-explain. When someone asks, "Why didn't you come?" they don't panic. They don't construct a 5-minute narrative. They calmly reply, "I had other priorities." And they stop. Silence. No apology for having standards. No emotional spillover. No nervous rambling. Here's what most people fail to recognize. When you over-explain, you project doubt. And doubt invites challenge. The moment people sense you're unsure about your own choice, they step in to question it. But when you are concise and clear, something shifts. Your words gain weight. Your decisions feel firm. Not rude, not hostile, just grounded and self-assured. Think about the people you naturally admire. They don't rush to fill awkward silence. They don't scramble to defend themselves. They speak less, but when they speak, it carries impact. This doesn't mean you become cold or dismissive. It means you become deliberate. If you say no, say it once. If you establish a boundary, don't negotiate it emotionally. If you make a decision, stand by it fully. Because the moment you stop trying to persuade everyone is the moment people stop trying to test you. When your words are measured, they carry authority. When your silence is comfortable, it communicates certainty. And certainty changes the way people treat you. Have you ever noticed how the second you react emotionally, you lose control of the room? Someone criticizes you, someone raises their voice, someone disrespects you publicly. Instantly, your heart rate increases, your tone sharpens, your speech accelerates. You believe you're defending yourself, but what you're actually doing is handing them power. The second cold behavior that instantly commands respect is this: control your emotional temperature. Most people are like thermometers. They reflect the emotional climate around them. If it's tense, they become tense. If it's loud, they get louder. If it's chaotic, they add to the chaos. But respected people are thermostats. They set the temperature. When someone attacks them, they don't rush to attack back. They pause, they breathe, they respond slowly. Not because they don't feel emotion, but because they refuse to let emotion lead their behavior. Imagine 2 leaders during a crisis. One panics, speaks rapidly, blames others, and looks overwhelmed. The other stands still, listens carefully, and speaks calmly. Same pressure, completely different presence. Who do you trust? Calmness under pressure signals strength. Emotional discipline signals stability, and stability draws respect. This doesn't mean you suppress your feelings. It means you master them. There's a difference. Suppression is pretending you don't feel anger. Mastery is feeling it fully, but choosing not to let it dictate your actions. When someone tries to provoke you, they are testing your boundaries. If you explode, they win. If you stay centered, you communicate something powerful without saying a word. You cannot move me. And here's the deeper truth. People feel secure around those who are emotionally steady. Safety creates trust. Trust builds respect. The strongest person in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who can absorb pressure without cracking. Start practicing this in small moments. When someone interrupts you, don't rush to speak over them. When someone disagrees, don't defend instantly. Pause. Let the silence linger a second longer than feels comfortable. That pause is authority. Over time, people will sense something different about you. They may not articulate it, but they will feel it. Your presence will become grounded, stable, difficult to shake. And when people realize they cannot control your emotions, they stop trying to control you. Let me ask you something that might feel uncomfortable. Why do you feel compelled to respond to everything? Every comment, every message, every opinion, every rumor, every small provocation. Why? The third cold behavior that instantly commands respect is this: don't react to what doesn't deserve your energy. Most people are addicted to reacting. Someone posts something indirect, they respond immediately. Someone makes a subtle insult, they correct it. Someone doubts them, so they rush to prove them wrong. But powerful people understand something most overlook. Attention is currency, and where you spend it determines your value. When you respond to everything, you lower your status. You signal that your time is available to anyone who demands it. You show that your emotions can be triggered on cue. But when you choose your responses carefully, everything changes. Silence becomes a filter. Not everything deserves your reaction. Not every battle deserves your presence. Not every opinion deserves your correction. Think about someone who is genuinely respected. When criticized publicly, they don't dive into every comment thread defending themselves. When someone spreads gossip, they don't chase every rumor. They remain focused on their mission. Why? Because reacting to small people keeps you small. There's a story about a senior executive who was repeatedly criticized by a colleague. Instead of fighting back in meetings, he stayed composed, stuck to facts, and avoided personal attacks. Months later, when promotions were announced, guess who advanced? Respect is long-term. Ego is short-term. When you react emotionally to every slight, you're protecting your ego. When you ignore what doesn't matter, you're protecting your future. This doesn't mean you tolerate genuine disrespect. It means you choose your moment strategically. If someone crosses a real boundary, address it directly, privately, calmly, firmly, once. But if someone is simply fishing for a reaction, don't give them the reward. There is strength in being unmoved. There is power in letting silence speak. When people realize they cannot bait you, they stop trying. And when they see that your focus cannot be dragged into petty drama, they begin to treat you differently, because nothing commands respect faster than a person who refuses to be pulled into small conversations. Your energy is limited. Protect it like it matters, because it truly does. Let me challenge you with something that may sting a little. How many times have you agreed to something you didn't want to do just to avoid disappointing someone? How many times have you said yes while your mind was screaming no? The fourth cold behavior that instantly commands respect is this: say no without guilt. Most people believe respect comes from being helpful, agreeable, and constantly available. They think if they say yes often enough, people will value them more. But the opposite occurs. When you say yes to everything, you become predictable, accessible, easy to use. Gradually, your time stops being respected because you don't respect it yourself. Here's a truth many avoid. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you say no to something that builds you. Respected people understand trade-offs. They don't apologize for having priorities. They don't over-smile to soften a boundary. They don't invent elaborate excuses to escape discomfort. They simply say, I can't commit to that right now, and they stop speaking. Notice what's absent: guilt, justification, nervous energy. When you decline calmly, you communicate that your time holds value. And when people sense that you value your time, they begin to value it as well. This doesn't mean you become selfish. It means you become selective. There's a story about a leader who routinely declined meetings that didn't align with his objectives. At first, people felt offended. They whispered that he was distant or difficult. But over time, something changed. When he did accept a meeting, everyone showed up prepared, focused, and punctual. Why? Because access became earned. When your yes is rare, it becomes meaningful. But when your yes is automatic, it becomes invisible. Saying no will feel uncomfortable at first. Your mind will create stories. They'll think I'm rude. They won't like me. I might miss out on this opportunity. But here's the deeper truth. People may like you less in the short term, but they will respect you more in the long term. And respect sustains relationships far longer than approval ever will. If you want to command respect, you must first command your own schedule, your own energy, your own standards. Say no once, calmly, directly, without apologizing for existing. And watch how quickly people adjust to the new version of you. Let me ask you one final question. When you walk into a room, do people actually feel your presence, or do they feel your need? There is a real difference. The fifth cold behavior that instantly commands respect is this: stop seeking validation. Most people have no idea how often they leak subtle neediness. They glance around after they speak to check who agrees. They reshape their opinions to match the atmosphere. They laugh slightly too hard. They present achievements disguised as humble anecdotes. They post not to express themselves, but to be approved. And here is the hard truth. The moment people sense you require their validation, they instinctively lower your status. Respect is naturally drawn to self-sufficiency. Think about the person you admire the most. They don't constantly scan the room to see if you approve of them. They don't chase praise. They don't crumble when someone disagrees. They stand firm in their beliefs with calm composure. That steady certainty is magnetic. Validation seeking usually begins with insecurity. We want reassurance that we are enough, that we belong, that we matter. But the paradox is this: the more you pursue validation, the more invisible you become. When your decisions depend on applause, you lose authority. When your confidence relies on compliments, you lose stability. And when your identity depends on agreement, you lose respect. Powerful individuals validate themselves first. They don't need everyone to understand their vision. They don't require immediate recognition. They don't depend on constant feedback to continue moving forward. They operate from internal standards, not external reactions. Their compass is internal, not social. And that difference changes everything about how they are perceived. There's a story about a young professional who constantly searched for approval from his boss. Every idea ended with, "Does that sound okay?" Over time, the boss stopped taking him seriously, not because his ideas lacked quality, but because his uncertainty diluted them. Contrast that with someone who presents an idea and simply says, "This is what I recommend." No desperation, no pleading tone. Which one sounds like a leader? You don't command respect by demanding it. You command respect by embodying it. When you stop chasing validation, something powerful shifts. Your posture adjusts. Your voice slows down. Your words become intentional. Your energy stabilizes. People begin to sense something different about you. Not arrogance, not detachment, certainty. And certainty is quiet. When you walk into a room without needing anything from it, the room begins to lean toward you. That is when respect stops being something you request and becomes something you naturally carry. Your presence speaks before you do, and that presence is built on self-trust rather than approval. Let me take you deeper, because once you stop seeking validation, once you master your emotions, once you stop over-explaining and reacting to everything, something uncomfortable happens. People will test you. The sixth cold behavior that instantly commands respect is this: hold eye contact and embrace silence. Most people break eye contact when they feel unsure. They look down, they glance away, they begin talking just to fill the empty space. Silence makes them anxious. It feels like judgment. It feels like exposure. But silence is not weakness. Silence is pressure, and the person who can hold it controls it. When someone challenges you and you immediately start defending yourself, you release the pressure. When someone questions your decision and you rush to explain, you relieve their discomfort. But when you pause, when you look at them steadily, when you allow 3 full seconds of silence before speaking, something changes. They begin to feel examined. Strong presence is not about louder words. It is about grounded stillness. Think about negotiations. The first person who speaks after an offer often loses leverage. Why? Because silence forces reflection. It forces the other person to sit with what was said. In everyday interactions, the same principle applies. If someone makes a sarcastic remark and you react instantly, you step into their game. But if you look at them calmly, say nothing, and let the moment stretch, they often retreat on their own. Silence exposes insecurity, but only for the person who fears it. If you can sit comfortably in quiet space, you signal confidence. You signal that you are not desperate to be liked. You are not rushing to eliminate discomfort. You are not afraid of tension. And here is what most people overlook. Eye contact is honesty without words. When you speak, hold it. When you listen, hold it. Not aggressively, not as a stare down, but in a steady, relaxed way that says, I am present. I am not intimidated. I am not hiding. Presence commands respect more than performance ever will. Practice this in small conversations. When someone finishes speaking, don't jump in immediately. Pause. Let your response be intentional. Let your silence breathe. At first, it will feel unnatural. Your mind will shout, say something, fill the gap, but resist it. Because the person who controls silence controls perception, and perception shapes respect. Let me ask you something most people avoid considering. Do your words align with your actions? Because the seventh cold behavior that instantly commands respect is this: do exactly what you say you will do. No more, no less. Most people don't lose respect because they lack talent. They lose respect because they are inconsistent. They promise emotionally and deliver selectively. They say, I'll call you tomorrow, and forget. They say, I'll start Monday, and delay. They say, you can count on me, but disappear when it becomes inconvenient. Every broken micro-promise chips away at your authority. And here's the dangerous part. People may never confront you about it. They won't announce that they trust you less. They will simply adjust how seriously they take you. Respect is built on predictability. If I know that when you commit, it gets done, your words carry weight. If I know you follow through even when you're tired, even when it's uncomfortable, even when no one is watching, I begin to see you differently. Cold behavior means this: you don't overpromise to impress. You don't agree impulsively just to appear capable. You assess your capacity honestly, and then you execute. There is power in being boringly reliable. In a world filled with hype, exaggeration, and loud declarations, the person who quietly delivers becomes rare. Think about leaders you respect. They may not speak constantly. They may not post inspirational quotes every day. But when they give their word, things move. That consistency creates psychological safety. People relax around reliability. They don't have to guess. They don't have to chase you. They don't have to double check or remind you repeatedly. And when people don't have to manage you, they respect you. Start small. If you say you'll wake up at 6 hour, wake up at 6 hour. If you say you'll send the email tonight, send it tonight. If you commit to the gym 3 times a week, show up 3 times a week. These small private victories reinforce your identity, and identity drives behavior. When you become someone who keeps promises to yourself, your posture shifts, your tone shifts, your self-trust increases. And here's the hidden truth. When you trust yourself, others sense it. Because consistency eliminates doubt. And when doubt fades, respect grows naturally. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it quietly. Here's a question most people rarely dare to ask themselves. Are you the same person everywhere you go? Or do you transform depending on who is watching? The 8th cold behavior that instantly commands respect is this: maintain unwavering standards. Most people constantly adjust their behavior to fit in, to be liked, to avoid friction. They laugh louder in certain circles. They soften their opinions in others. They compromise boundaries to prevent tension. They believe flexibility is charm, but inconsistency reads as weakness. Powerful people don't shift to be accepted. They remain steady. Their principles do not bend based on audience or mood. Their presence is predictable, dependable, and firm. When you hold strong standards, whether at work, with friends, or in a crowded room, you communicate something profound without speaking. I am anchored. I am stable. I am not swayed by temporary approval. Imagine entering a meeting and seeing people who cater to every trend, every whim, every dominant voice. Now contrast that with someone who remains quiet, composed, principled, and deliberate in their decisions. Which one attracts attention? Which one earns trust? Which one commands respect? Maintaining unwavering standards does not mean being rigid or distant. It means choosing your values and acting consistently on them, regardless of social pressure. There's a story about a leader who was once asked to bend a rule for convenience. Everyone else agreed quickly to avoid conflict. He paused, considered the implications, and refused, not angrily, not defensively, just firmly. Months later, when a crisis emerged, everyone turned to him. Why? Because they knew he would act according to principle, even when it was difficult. That is the power of unwavering standards. People instinctively trust those who cannot be easily swayed, bought, or shaken. People respect someone whose identity is not a reflection of the room, but a reflection of their own values. Start small, keep your word, enforce your boundaries. Hold the same standards, whether someone important is watching or not. Observe how people begin to adjust. Notice the subtle shift in how colleagues, friends, or even strangers respond to you. Consistency is magnetic. Principles are quiet strength. When you hold them firmly, respect becomes inevitable. Because when people realize you cannot be bent, broken, or bribed, they stop testing you. And that is when your presence becomes commanding, almost undeniable. You don't need to prove yourself. Your standards speak on your behalf. Respect is not awarded to the loudest voice, the flashiest outfit, or the boldest promises. Respect flows naturally toward those who remain authentic, steady, and principled regardless of the circumstances. Let me ask you something most people avoid considering. Do people genuinely know what you stand for, or do they only notice what you react to? The ninth cold behavior that instantly commands respect is this: speak with purpose, not filler. Most conversations drain unnecessary energy. People ramble, over-explain, clarify things that don't require clarification, and try too hard to be liked. Every extra word weakens authority. Every casual apology chips away at presence. Every qualifying phrase signals hesitation. Powerful individuals speak with intention. Every word is deliberate. Every pause carries meaning. Every statement has weight because it reflects clarity, conviction, and self-trust. Think about leaders you respect. They don't clutter silence with noise. They don't speak to impress or fish for approval. They speak to communicate, to direct, to influence. And because they speak with purpose, people lean forward. They listen. They remember. They act. Speaking with purpose demands mastery over three elements: clarity, brevity, and timing. Clarity means knowing exactly what you intend to convey. No vague phrasing, no hedging, no unnecessary qualifiers. Brevity means saying enough to land the point and then stopping. No repetition, no justification, no over-explaining. Timing means speaking when the moment strengthens your message, not when your emotions push you to react. Consider this scenario. A team was trapped in indecision, endless debate, conflicting viewpoints, rising frustration. Then, one individual calmly expressed their position. Clear, concise, unshaken. No fluff, no apology, no defensive tone. Instantly the room shifted. The arguing slowed. Direction emerged. Progress resumed. Respect had been earned not through volume or charm, but through precision and weight. Speaking with purpose also communicates confidence. When you present ideas directly without filler, people perceive competence. They sense that you have reflected, prepared, and evaluated. That perception builds trust. This doesn't require coldness or rigidity. It requires intention. Emotion can be powerful when paired with deliberate speech, but it loses impact when your words feel scattered, reactive, or hungry for approval. Begin practicing this in small interactions. Pause before answering. Ask yourself, does this statement add value, clarity, or forward movement? Or am I talking simply to avoid silence? Over time, people will notice a shift. Conversations will feel sharper. Meetings will move with greater efficiency. Your presence will feel heavier in the psychological sense. When you speak with purpose, people don't just hear you, they feel the substance behind your words. And when that happens, respect follows naturally. Here is a final question to leave lingering in your mind. When people walk away from a conversation with you, do they feel strengthened, or do they feel as if they just stepped out of someone else's emotional turbulence? The 10th and final cold behavior that instantly commands respect is this: embody calm authority in every interaction. Many believe respect comes from proving themselves repeatedly, dominating discussions, or asserting power aggressively. They raise their voices, they fill every pause, they respond to every challenge. They attempt to control outcomes through force or intensity, but respect does not grow from noise, it grows from presence. Calm authority is not arrogance, it is not hostility. It is a quiet, steady strength that people sense the moment you enter a space. It is the blend of posture, tone, consistency, and energy. The unspoken signals that communicate, I am grounded, I am composed, I am not shaken. Think about someone you naturally respect. They do not need to raise their voice to command attention. They do not rush to correct every error. They do not over-explain or over-apologize. Yet their opinion carries influence. Their presence has weight. Their words move decisions. Embodying calm authority requires mastery over 3 dimensions. First, physical presence. Stand upright. Move with intention. Avoid restless movements. Your body communicates certainty before your voice even begins. Second, vocal presence. Speak steadily, clearly, and at a measured pace. Avoid racing your words or lifting your pitch unnecessarily. Your tone should reflect assurance, not urgency. Third, mental presence. Listen more than you talk. Observe more than you react. Respond based on discernment rather than impulse. When your mind is composed, your behavior follows. Imagine a manager entering a tense meeting. Voices are raised. Frustration fills the room. Instead of adding to the noise, he remains composed, holds steady eye contact, and speaks with quiet authority. Within moments, the energy shifts. The room steadies. People listen. The conversation becomes productive. Respect is established without a single demand. Calm authority is magnetic because it signals stability in uncertain moments. It signals self-mastery, and self-mastery is the foundation of influence. Practice this daily, in conversations, in meetings, in casual exchanges. Carry your calm center with you. Let your presence, your tone, and your composure guide the space, not just your words. When you master calm authority, you stop chasing respect. You embody it. People notice, people align, people defer, and most importantly, you preserve your integrity and self-respect while doing so. Respect is not built overnight. But when you consistently demonstrate calm authority, it becomes inevitable, undeniable, and lasting. This is the culmination of it all. Control yourself, protect your energy, speak with precision. Uphold your standards. Master silence. Deliver on your commitments. Carry your presence like armor. Because respect is not handed out freely. Respect is commanded quietly, steadily, and without apology.